Hello and welcome to this video produced on behalf of the Emerging Markets Institute at the S.C. Johnson College of Business. This overview is part of a comprehensive exploration of the rise of emerging markets as illustrated in the EMI's annual reports. For the decade following the end of the Cold War, the world economy was dominated by the G7, the 7 largest, most developed economies in the world. But while authors were writing books like The End of History, proclaiming that the current world order would last forever, a new group of developing economies was rising to prominence. These E20 countries are some of the most dynamic economies in the world today, spread across every continent from the southern tip of South America to the Arctic Circle. Though united by shared potential, the E20 are split along nearly every demographic, economic, and political dimension. Let's take a look. Nigeria and Russia have similar populations. But in the next 100 years, Nigeria's will double, while Russia's will halve. South Korea and China are already well on their way to diverse industrialized economies, while countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran rely heavily on the exports of only a few natural resources. Some countries like Brazil dominate their neighbors in size and influence, while Thailand will for the foreseeable future live in the shadow of its larger neighbors. Nevertheless, these 20 countries represent the future of the world's economy. To understand this future, we'll start in the past. Beginning with the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1989, this chart of nominal GDP shows the 20 largest economies in the world. The G7, bound together with military alliances and economic treaties, dominate the world as the 7 top economies. The E20 nations are interspersed with other non-G7 economies like Australia, Switzerland, and Belgium. We will keep the initial GDP as a light color, and any increase will be shown as a darker color. Almost immediately, things begin to change. On the right end of the chart, Iraq joins the top 20 in 1990, only to be overtaken by Argentina the next year. On the left, Japan's economic growth keeps pace with the US for nearly 5 years, before faltering in 1995 with the beginning of the lost decade. In this year, the developing economies of China and Brazil overtake Canada, the smallest of the G7 economies. The world economy continues on through the Asian financial crisis and the dot-com bubble, before entering a period of sustained growth in 2001. China surpasses Italy, France, Britain, and Germany just before the 2008 financial crisis. In 2008, we can see almost every economy recede. Meanwhile, China's impressive growth relentlessly overtakes Japan. By 2016, the United States has stayed strong as the #1 economy, but China at #2, with its massive population, industry, and natural resources, is in a position to overtake. Behind it, India and Brazil outpace Canada and Italy, splitting the latter off from their G7 peers. And in the bottom half, Turkey, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia join Russia, South Korea, and Mexico as 6 of the next 10 largest economies. The era of the G7 isn't over, but the prodigious growth of the E20 shows that their time is coming. The E20's growth isn't limited to just impressive GDP figures. Contrary to popular belief that this GDP growth is driven principally by the outsourcing and investment of foreign multinationals, the indigenous companies of the E20 have shown growth just as impressive as their parent economies. These emerging market multinationals, or EMNCs, are increasingly drivers of the world's economy. Of particular note are the EMNCs of China, which have in the last decade truly established themselves on the world stage. In 2005, Chinese corporations made up only 16 of the global Fortune 500. But just as China's GDP has rocketed upwards, so too have the number of Chinese-based global Fortune 500 companies. By 2015, China had 108 of the top 500 and 11 of the top 50. Only the US has more top 500 corporations, and looking forward, this may not be true for long. Though we cannot be certain what the future holds for the E20, The growth of these countries, their economies, and their corporations is without a doubt the most dynamic development of the economic world. We hope you'll join us as the EMI continues to explore the opportunities, challenges, and developments of emerging markets. You can find further information about specific topics through additional videos and the EMI's annual reports. Thank you for watching.